I can't think of a better way that you can start making positive improvements in your health than intermittent fasting. So that's why we're going to talk about the top 5 reasons that I think you should start intermittent fasting today. Hey Wellness Warriors, I'm Dr. Nick Zyrowski, and I started my holistic health practice in order to help you take control of your health naturally, because true health only comes naturally. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. And don't forget to hit the bell because, let's face it, subscribes don't really mean anything on YouTube anymore. Also give this video a thumbs up and share with me your thoughts in the comments below. I take care of people every day who are trying to improve their health naturally, but they make it so complicated for themselves that it usually ends in failure and frustration. Whether it's signing up for a fancy meal delivery service that's expensive and unaffordable long term, or maybe even trying to count your calories down to the minute details. There's so many things that you can do before you ever go down the road of using those strategies. I had one lady I was working with, and she was so frustrated because she was trying to figure out her macros and her calories based on her age and the workouts she was doing. And I said to her, have you ever just considered intermittent fasting? Because that could take you exactly where you want to be with your health goals without all that frustration, and it's easy to do long term. So we have to look at these things that we can use that are not complicated, that can help us reach our goals. So this leads me into the first reason that I think you should be intermittent fasting, and that's because it's free. Look, people complain to me all the time that when it comes to improving their health naturally, they're like, well, it costs a lot of money. The gym membership, the trainer, and buying the healthier food and the supplementation, it all costs money. Well, the fact is intermittent fasting is free. So if you're concerned about it costing money, then this is a free one for you. Now, the other thing I hear quite a bit is that, well, going to the gym is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to go there and work hard. It's not my thing, and I get that because that's a problem for a lot of people. But that's okay, because if you're intermittent fasting, you know what you have to do? Literally nothing. So here's a free technique that you can use that literally is effortless, that will exponentially raise your level of health because it has so many benefits, which we'll get to in just a minute. Now, the number 2 reason I think you should intermittent fast is because it is incredible for fat loss. And the best part about it is not only does it help you lose fat, but it helps you maintain lean muscle mass. Who doesn't want that? I mean, I'm always trying to hit that spot where I'm losing fat and maintaining muscle mass. And one of the things that we know about just health science in general is that the healthiest people have low fat content, but high lean muscle. And when we look to fasting, that's exactly what it does. It burns the fat stores, all while preserving the muscle. In terms of fat loss, fasting actually offers some other interesting benefits, but this one's from a food psychology perspective. Because when you're doing 16-8 intermittent fasting, that's when you're fasting for 16 hours, eating all your meals within an 8-hour period, you're most likely going to be consuming 2 meals. Both of those meals are going to be a very large, filling, and satiating meal. And it's going to be enjoyable, very contrary to the 3 meals a day or the 6 small meals a day that literally leaves you hungry all the time. So intermittent fasting is sustainable long term. Now, the other piece of fat loss is keeping your calories under control. Now, a lot of people get very frustrated when I start talking about calories in and calories out because they think I'm talking about it from that fitness industry perspective, where you see the fitness guru online and he's just like chomping down donuts and all kinds of garbage food and drinking sodas. And it's because he is keeping his calories under control that he thinks that he's healthy and that he's able to maintain a good physique. Well, I don't look at it from that perspective. My perspective is that, well, you should be eating a healthy diet, okay? And while eating a healthy diet, it's still important to keep your calories under control because you can eat a lot of good food and eat too much of it and start to gain weight. This happens all the time when I'm working with people. I get them on a healthier diet, they lose some weight, but then they plateau because they're just still eating too much. So this is when you have to dial in your calories. Now, the good news about intermittent fasting is it really makes dialing in your calories so much easier versus if you're consuming 3 meals a day or even 6 meals a day. It's difficult at that point. But if you're consuming just 2 meals a day, you're satisfied, you're satiated, it's so much easier to come in at a little bit of a calorie deficit in order to help you lose some weight or even hit your maintenance calories. But more importantly, it makes it much easier to not overconsume. Now, the next reason I think you should be intermittent fasting is incredibly important. And this is because it helps us with one of the biggest challenges that we face today as a human race, and that is the chronic disease epidemic. The benefit that you get from fasting that's going to help us fight chronic disease is autophagy. And if you're not familiar with autophagy, it's when our body takes these broken down cells in the body, recycles them, and turns them into new healthy cells. Autophagy, this process has incredible benefits. It's anti-cancer, it's anti-aging, and it also helps us decrease inflammation. When we look at one of the most profound discoveries in modern science, it is the discovery of autophagy through fasting. Now, the next thing that everybody always wants to know is, when does autophagy officially begin in the body? Well, that's the million-dollar question, because the science is truly all over the board on this one. And it's hard to answer because everybody's health is different. So when we take a healthy individual who's eating a healthy diet, it's been found that autophagy can start as early as 13 hours into a fast, whereas on average it's thought to be about 18 hours. But if you really want to get a lot of benefit from autophagy, you should jump into a couple multiple day fasts throughout the year. Now, I personally do multiple 48-hour fasts throughout the year, and I'm a big fan of them because they don't take a whole lot of effort and planning, whereas once you start getting to like a 3 and 4 day fast, you have to make sure that you're mentally prepared and also make sure that you're physically able to do them. Now, I'm a big fan of the 3 and 4 day fast. I just don't do them as much. Now, if you follow me on Instagram or you're on my email list, you'll know that we do multiple guided fasts throughout the year, which are a lot of fun because literally thousands of people come together and we all do it at the same time. So you don't feel that you're all alone out there. And of course, I guide you and give you answers to your questions as we move forward with it. And you can make sure that you never miss these group fasts by joining the Wellness Warrior community. You can do so by texting this number on the screen right here. And if you're outside of the US or Canada, what you can do is join the email list, which I'll put a link in the comments down below. Now let's talk about hormones, because it's no secret that as we age, many of our youth hormones start to take a nosedive, and nobody appreciates that. We're left with sexual dysfunction, we're left with an increased rate of aging, and also a lack of energy because we have hormones like testosterone and also growth hormone that just plummet, leaving us in a place where we're a little bit frustrated. Now, for many people, they turn to going and getting hormone replacement therapy to the tune of thousands of dollars with a whole bunch of nasty side effects. But the fact is that you could just be using something like intermittent fasting. I had one gentleman who implemented intermittent fasting and just an overall healthy lifestyle, and he was able to increase his testosterone levels by over 40%. And that was no hormone replacement therapy, no negative side effects, just good old intermittent fasting and healthy living. Now, we're not only worried about hormones like testosterone and growth hormone, there's other hormones we have to be concerned about too. And this really goes back to the topic of weight loss, because there's metabolic hormones that are very much improved by intermittent fasting. The first is going to be insulin. This is one that many of you are very familiar with. Now, when we want to lose weight, we have to lower our insulin levels. Whenever we want to slow down the aging process and improve growth hormone and testosterone, we have to lower insulin levels. Now, if we want to do that, we can intermittent fast, lower our blood sugar, decrease inflammation, become more insulin sensitive, and then we're going to see a huge positive impact on our overall metabolic system. But that's not it. I feel like I'm like a salesman, but that's not all. There's more, except I'm trying to sell you on doing something for free. The next hormones we have to be concerned about are going to be one called ghrelin and also leptin. Now, ghrelin is that gremlin that is always telling us we're hungry, and leptin is the hormone that is telling us, brain, we're full, stop eating. But the problem is that when these hormones are imbalanced, what happens is that we can fall into this situation where we're constantly getting stimulated to eat, but we're never being told that we should stop eating. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever fallen into that pattern? Let me know in the comments below. Now, the next issue that intermittent fasting helps greatly with is one that many people face, but it's not one that many people like to talk about because we're told it's not polite to talk about our bowels. But the fact is, there's a ton of people out there who are suffering with digestive distress. They're suffering with problems like IBS and so many other issues. Not to mention, gastrointestinal cancer is estimated to be the #1 killer of millennials and is sharply on the rise. So it is something that we have to take seriously. Your gut health is incredibly important. And I can tell you that just from a general healthcare perspective, when I see people go in to their doctors in order to get support with their gastrointestinal issues, I mean, the results are typically horrifying. They don't have good answers. And a lot of times it ends with them getting parts of their colon removed, which is horrifying. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of our gut health, and intermittent fasting helps greatly because it pulls us away from that constant grazing that increases inflammation, that causes our gut to have a lot of distress. And so when we intermittent fast, what happens is we lower the inflammation, it allows our gut to rebalance, reset, and then also get a break. It's so important, and it really helps everybody improve their health drastically because your gut is a major player in your overall health. It's one of the key areas that has to be functioning properly if you're going to have good health. Well, from what I can see, the benefits are far too good to pass up. Have I convinced you yet to start intermittent fasting? Comment below, let me know. Let's start the conversation, and also check out other videos on the channel.